that very moving account, Swami Kriyananda describes Yoganandaji's passing. And he refers to a poem that Yoganandaji wrote, My India. And let me share an excerpt from that poem, from Whispers from Eternity. If mortal fires razed all Indian homes and desiccated her paddy fields, yet I would rather sleep on that dust, dreaming eternity, than sit on a proud throne amid royal pomp. O India, I would starve in your poor villages in preference to entertaining kings in marble mansions. Invasions have swept over India's wasted lands. Boastful conquerors have strutted their proud victories, scoffing at all they saw. They commanded abject homage. Yet has the soul of India been conquered by any tyrant? Her independent soul has stood firm. Never will she lose her inner freedom. Her defending soldiers are her saints and rishis, who routed ignorance with calm wisdom, universal understanding, and clear and ever clear perception of the truth. Better I love thee, O my India, than heaven or Arcadia, and thy love I will share with every brother nation that accepts my offering. God made the earth, but man made its confining countries with their fancy frozen boundaries. Love, however, imported from infinity, will inspire equally all true souls everywhere. My India's borderland embraces the whole world. Hail, thou mother of religions, lotus, scenic beauties, and great sages. Thy doors are open wide to welcome God's true sons from every corner of the earth, where Ganges, wood, Himalayan caves, and men dream God. I am hallowed, my body touched that thought. Swami Kriyananda once said to Yoganandaji, Sir, when you're gone, will you be as close to us then as you are now? And that was the moment when Guruji said the words, to those who think me near, I will be near. And there's an important principle in the statement for everyone, not just those who happen to be followers of Yogananda. Yoganandaji touched a great number of people during his life. He initiated tens of thousands into Kriya Yoga. But his work has grown so much, so many times more after his passing than before his passing. Through his writings, through disciples of disciples, and in unseen ways particularly. His magnetism is working day-to-day miracles in people's lives. Every time we have a group of new students here, we hear some of those stories of miracles, of just how it is that they came to come to this doorstep here. Those who think me near, I will be near. And he doesn't mean if we don't think him near, he won't be near. He's saying that he's always there. when a friend of mine, a resident at Ananda village, once her mother came to visit her. And this was in the 1980s. It was many years after the passing of Yoganandaji. And this lady, the mother, was taking a walk alone at Ananda village one day. And she came across an unusual-looking gentleman, and he was an Indian with long hair and robes. And they started talking, and he was saying how he was very happy at how Ananda was growing and prospering. And the lady asked him, "Oh, do you come here often?" And he said, "Oh no, I'm always here." She had no idea who this person was, but of course she goes home to her daughter. She sees the photo and realizes it was Yoganandaji that she saw. He also said to one disciple that even when you're alone, am I not always with you? He's always near, but it's we who need to do something so that we can feel him near. For many years, this photo is called The Last Smile because it was taken at that banquet that Swamiji describes just an hour before the passing of Guruji. And for many years, I would, in the corner of my room, have a meditation space separated off, and I would have this photo, this size, life size, right in front of me when I meditated. And I felt that I was not just offering my devotion to the image, but I was having a conversation. And I would wonder, now, the answers that I felt I was receiving, are those just my imagination? And very often, we would have satsangs at least once a week that I would attend, and very often Swami Kriyananda or another acharya would say something. I would listen very carefully, and it's just confirmed exactly the answer that I felt in my meditation through gazing at that image. And it occurred to me that I had prayed to this image a great deal, but I had never prayed directly to Swami Kriyananda in my meditation. And one day I tried it. And the next time I saw Swamiji, the first thing he said was the exact answer to the prayer that I put to him in my meditation. The masters are always near to us, very near. And they work in unseen ways. And Yoganandaji is now not limited by a physical body or living in a certain place. He can be truly omnipresent. And there's a great advantage to having a guru without a body, because we're not tempted to relate to him in terms of personality. We have to go within to establish that true, deeper relationship. And some of the disciples who lived with Yogananda for many years continued to see him on a level, in a very human way, on a very personal way. You know, saying that, oh, what a wonderful personality he had, and how sweet it was when he did this for me. And, you know, but now I'm devastated because my dear friend is no more. And as sweet as that is, it only scratches the surface. And one disciple went with some others shortly after the passing of Yoganandaji to where his tomb was. and the others were weeping in front of the tomb, and she wasn't weeping. And there was nothing, she never felt anything in her that Yogananda had gone, that he was far from her. And then she mentally called out to him, and she felt him standing by her side, and he was pointing at the tomb, and he said, "I'm not in there." He acted surprised that these weeping disciples who had been, taught all of these principles would still be attached to a mortal body and relate to him in that way. Another mistake that sometimes people make is to impose their own prejudices, their own judgments on the great masters. And ironically, it seems in all religious movements, there's a tendency, there's a temptation towards bigotry, towards fanaticism, of saying, our way is the only way. Even a saint like Ramakrishna, who was his vision of the world was one of the most expansive and all-inclusive. A few of his disciples would say, well, Ramakrishna was the first one to say that all ways are one. Therefore, he must be the greatest. Even some followers of Yogananda. Yogananda would give permission to many people in all walks of life to share his teachings with others. But some of his followers say, no, that's wrong. Only the monastic disciples of the organization that Yoganandaji founded, only they can teach. No one else can share the teachings. And so is human nature, holds us back from feeling the guru, from feeling the masters close to us. And the masters don't see themselves in these terms. There isn't any competition. Once one is self-realized, one is equal to every other self-realized master. And they've all come to help us realize that sense of infinity and their infinite awareness. They've come not to show us how great they were, but how great we all are, potentially. Yoganandaji was asked, "Sir, what can ever replace you after you are gone?" And he replied, "When I am gone, only love can take my place." Now, he didn't mean just our receiving love. He didn't mean just our giving love to God or Guru. He meant our giving love to everyone who crosses our path, who comes to us. And in this way, another time he also said, he said to a group of disciples, "Respect one another the way that you respect me." Our first duty is to give love, give respect to everyone who comes to us as an image of God, to see the highest, to see the God in each of them. Thank you.
Jai Guru. It's very, so beautifully, Keshava has been telling about gurus. So difficult to bring myself back into this world of words. The very famous saint poet Kabir Das ji had, in one of his couplets, which I'm sure all of us are familiar with, he says, "God and Guru are both standing in front of me, and whose feet do I touch first?" And then he goes on to say that I would rather prostrate in front of my guru because he was the one who showed me the way to God or gave him the experience of God. And so very much, so very true is what we've been sharing so far today. I'd like to share about this lady. I mean, I should say it's not a story because it's a real life thing. She had her guru and she was really very devoted and dedicated on her path and doing her sadhana and japa, whatever she had earmarked for herself with her guru's guidance. And as all of us, she had her ups and downs of life, goes on. But in the later half of her life, she went through some very hard and harsh challenges that came to her. But she remained steadfast on her path. She kept doing her sadhana. Her relatives and friends kept dissuading her, saying that what is the use of your devotion? You are so, you're so involved, you give so much to your guru and his teachings, and look what he's doing to you. He's so harsh on you. He's not even coming to your aid. You're suffering so much. And there were a number of people who told her that and told her not to go to her guru's place anymore. But she remained, didn't budge a millimeter, I should say, not even an inch, but literally a millimeter. She continued to be on her path, steadfast. And the only one response she had to all of them is that, I know my guru knows what is best for me. There must be some reason why I have got these experiences in my life, some karmas, whatever we wish to name them. And it's only because of my guru's grace and guidance that I'm able to go through these experiences, because after all I have to face those situations. And she also said that maybe it's only because of my guru that I'm, at least being able to deal with it. Otherwise, I would be much worse off. So it's my guru. She continued to stay on her path. This is exactly what we all very often, get these doubts, and we need to be so focused and accept with our open hearts the guru's guidance, his blessings, and remain there, because no matter what comes in our way, we have to have that faith that he's there with all of us. And while going through all these things about what I'd like to share today, there's another very important thing, or I would say another couplet of Kabir Das ji, which came to my mind, which links so much with our line of gurus. In another couplet, he says, he compares the guru to a potter and the disciple to a pot. And just like the potter has his hand inside the hollow of the developing pot on the potter's wheel, and while he uses his other hand to give those harsh strokes to manipulate the clay and smooth out some rough edges, but he doesn't let go of the hand that is within and to give it. And finally, you have this beautiful creation of his, which the rest of the world admires. Similarly, the guru, for us, the path that we choose, or the guru who comes to us, he has that supporting hand within us. He supports us from within. No matter what hard knocks the karma gives, or he gives through his loving discipline on us, still he's there to support us. So we have our baggage of karmas, we have to deal with it, but it is his support which helps us to go through that, transcend that, learn our lessons, and go beyond that. And this is what we need to do. Yukteswar ji was such a classic example of a strict and yet an epitome of love. While we read the autobiography of Yogi, there are a number of situations and words which describes his love for Master, how Master talks about the love, and yet all that discipline and all the strictness. And so it's just a true guru is never bothered about what you're going to think of him. For him, he just wants to make his disciples into the shining stars. So I'd like to share from the autobiography of Yogi, which I really love these words. A Master has written, "My guru could never be bribed, even by love. He showed no leniency to anyone who, like myself, willingly offered to be his disciple." And then he goes on after saying that how Master would tick them off in front of everybody and all that. And then he says, "This flattening treatment was hard to endure, but my resolve was to allow Sri Yukteswar to iron out each of my psychological kings. As he labored at this titanic transformation, I shook many times under the weight of his disciplinary hammer. If Master had psychological kings, what about us? I'm sure we have many, many more. And so let us allow our gurus to knock those psychological kings out of us and open ourselves to their guidance so that he can help us turn inwards on this path of self-realization that we've all chosen. And may Master, all the gurus bless us on this path. Om Guru.
Please stand, we'll have our arati.